सत श्री अकाल एंड वेलकम टू CJ सिद्धू शो। जिस तरह तुहानूं पता ही है कि इस शो दे विच असीं ऑलवेज पॉलिटिशियन या कम्यूनिटी एक्टिविस्ट नूं लियाईदा ते तुहानूं इन्फॉर्मेशन प्रोवाइड करदी है। ते अज बड़े खुशी की गल है कि मेरे नाल शामिल हन अहमद हुसैन। I don't think it need much introduction. Ahmed Hussein is a Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship for Government of Canada. As a profession, he is also a lawyer. He was a national president of the Canadian Somali Congress. And as of October 2015, Hussein is the MP in the Canadian Parliament representing the York South Western riding as a member of the Liberal Party of Canada. I have a long resume, Mr. Hussein, for you, but rather than because it's short of time, welcome to CJ Sidhu Show.
Thank you very much for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here to join you.
So we will open up a floor because of the time constraint.
Yes.
Let's start with your government policies in last 4 years. What are you able to accomplish? How you did it differently, and moving forward, what were your plans?
Well, you know, let me take your viewers back to 4 years. 4 years ago, our immigration system was broken. We inherited huge backlogs in all the different streams of immigration. And, you know, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said as soon as we get into government, if Canadians give us the opportunity to represent them, we will do a better job at immigration. Families were being kept apart for years. There were numerous backlogs in the family reunification system, and talent and skills coming to Canada to help employers grow our economy, create jobs for Canadians. That process was also taking too long. And so we have addressed both of those issues while maintaining and improving the reputation that Canada always has and Canadians have always had, which is a compassionate and welcoming space in our immigration system to welcome those who are also facing persecution. So on the family reunification programs, we have reduced the processing time for spousal sponsorship from years down to less than 12 months. We have cleared the backlog in the spousal sponsorship program. We have reunited 20,000 more families than the Conservatives. We have reduced the wait time in the parent and grandparent program from 7 years down to 21 months. We have increased the spaces available for people to sponsor their parents and grandparents from 5,000 spaces under the Conservatives to 20,000 under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government. So we're doing what we can. On the economic side, we heard from Canadians and employers from coast to coast to coast, including right here in British Columbia, in both urban and rural areas, that there's a need for our immigration system to get talent to the employers and to get skills here faster. So we delivered a new program called the Global Skills Strategy, which has reduced the processing time for highly skilled temporary workers to come and create jobs for Canadians. We've reduced their processing time for the visa and the LMIA and the work permit from 7 months processing time down to 10 days. That's a huge and dramatic improvement. We've also allowed so many talented people to come to Canada who are creating jobs for Canadians. And 25% of them are Americans. So we're gaining, we have a brain gain in Canada because of our immigration system. Finally, we've also introduced the new Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program, which will more than ever before spread the benefits of immigration to rural Canada. And 2 communities in British Columbia were part of the winning communities that were selected under this program. Those 2 regions in BC are the West Kootenay region and Vernon, BC. They presented winning bids under the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program. This program will enable employers in rural Canada to go out and select the exact workers that they need for their local economic needs. And as long as the community blesses those applications, we will process them. We will process them in record time and bring their families to rural Canada.
So Minister Hussain da कहना है कि जिहड़ा हार्पर गवर्नमेंट दे टाइम च सिस्टम वाज ब्रोकन एंड उन्होंने कहा कि जदों दे यह गवर्नमेंट आई है लिबरल गवर्नमेंट आई है तो यह मिनिस्टर आए है ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੈਕਲੌਗ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਕਾਫੀ ਘਟਾਤਾ ਆ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਰੀਯੂਨੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਉਹਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੇਟ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੈ ਘਟਾਇਆ ਆ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫੈਮਲੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਆਉਣਾ and super visa and those kind of things made it easier LMI ਜਿਹੜੀ process ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ 7 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਇਸ drop down to 10 days that 10 days that's a big accomplishment because and ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਨਵਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੱਕ ਦੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਰੋਲ ਆਊਟ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗੇ ਆ ਗਲੋਬਲ ਸਕਿੱਲ ਦੇ ਬੇਸਿਸ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕੰਟਰੀਬਿਊਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਣ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਸਪਰਸ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਨਵਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਰੂਰਲ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਰੂਲ ਆਊਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੈਸਟ ਕੂਟਨੀ ਤੇ ਵਰਨਨ ਨੇ ਆਪਦਾ ਕੇਸ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਐਂਡ ਦੇ ਵਰ ਸਿਲੈਕਟਡ ਐਜ਼ a pilot project in British Columbia. So Minister, with all that, and when I talked to your other member of parliaments, I had a chance to pretty much able to speak to everybody. Tonight I will be interviewing Gurdi Ho, Jetty, Sukhdaliwal, Randeep Sarai, John Aldag, all of them. And in ethnic communities especially, because we represent big part here in British Columbia, and in your Toronto and Scarborough, Brampton. Having said that, first people said it's too tight. Now people are complaining it's too open. So that's my question number one. And another thing, when you attended that immigrant convention that happened a couple of weeks ago, International Metropolis Conference, where 1,000...
that was this week, actually.
Yeah, this week. So in that convention, couple of things stand out to me. So one, your quote that I really like, the best weapon against fear is facts. Facts don't lie, and the numerous studies continue to show that migrants make an enormous contribution to our economies and our societies.
Correct.
The second quote that I really like is, instead of being the #1 country for political prisoners, instead of political prisoners or the #1 country for nuclear bombs, I rather be known as the #1 country for compassion toward refugees.
Correct.
So you started your life as a refugee for Somalia. You can appreciate and why people and in a media or in a polls showing against sentiments against refugees.
Well, I think part of it is because we've been bombarded by anti-immigrant and anti-refugee sentiment that is rising around the world, and of course we're not immune to that. But also, unfortunately, the Conservatives have spent 4 years spreading misinformation and fear about asylum seekers and somehow conflating them with the regular immigration system. So, for example, they have been spreading the misinformation and the lie that asylum seeker is taking the spot of your grandmother, which is totally, it's two separate streams. The asylum system is managed by the Immigration Refugee Board. They process the cases, and we have funded them to make the process faster. Family reunification, economic immigration, everything else is processed by Immigration Refugee Citizenship Canada. And conflating the two, when they know, they're smart people, they know that's not true, but conflating them deliberately means they're spreading misinformation, they're creating fear in communities to somehow demonize these people as a political strategy. That is not the Canadian way, and we have to fight that by showcasing the facts. The fact is, everyone who comes to Canada contributes, and including refugees. But having said that, 60% of our immigration levels admissions every single year is in the economic category, economic immigration. People who are coming to fill unfilled jobs in Canada, and people who are coming to fill skills needs in Canada and creating jobs for all of us and creating prosperity for all of us. That's 60% of our immigration. 20% is family reunification, and then the remainder, which is a small number, is the refugee program and protected persons and so on. But that program is also important because that's part of who we are as a country. That is part of our humanitarian tradition. And the few times that we've forgotten that, we've had to, in hindsight, look back and apologize for it. When we sent back the people who were seeking protection on the Komagatu Maru, we regretted that bad judgment, because those people needed Canada's protection. After that, a few years after that, we had the Jewish refugees on the St. Louis who were fleeing the Holocaust, and we returned them, and many of them died. So on those two occasions, our Prime Minister has, on behalf of Canadians, apologized because we got it wrong. We don't want to make the same mistakes now. And so when the Conservatives demonize people for seeking protection, we don't agree with that. At the same time, we have a priority in Canada to make sure that people are obeying our rules. We have invested more money in the border for border operations. You know, the Conservatives, they like to talk about the border. They cut $390 million from the Canada Border Services Agency. We're the ones who are reinvesting in the border. We're the ones who are reinvesting in the Immigration Refugee Board so that cases can be heard faster. And when people have deserve Canada's protection, they get to stay. And if they don't, they get to leave. We have a system. It's very unfortunate that the political leadership on the other side has chosen to spread fear instead of having a real debate on the facts. We welcome debate, but it has to be based on the facts. I want to go back to the global skills strategy. The 10-day processing is revolutionary, coming down from 7 months. But there's something else there as well. In the global skills strategy, there's a dedicated service team that in immigration that will stand up and help any company that wants to move its headquarters to Canada. We will help them through the immigration process. That didn't exist before the Trudeau government.
Yeah, that's good to know.
And finally, under the global skills strategy, any researcher or scientist who wants to come and do research in Canada, then for a temporary period of time, up to 120 days out of the year, they don't need a work permit. They come, they do their thing, they work with our local researchers, we benefit, they benefit, and then they go back. So it has really transformed the system. And I can tell you, when you get talent to Canada, you know what follows talent? Investment. And that investment creates jobs for Canadians. It creates confidence in our economy. We have the lowest unemployment rate in 40 years. Our government, working with Canadians have created over 1 million jobs over the last number of years. We've created more jobs than the Harper Conservatives created in 10 years. So in that kind of environment, we need more skilled labor to come in to address the needs of businesses who are growing, who cannot find enough labor in Canada. Let me just give you an example. And by the way, this is across all the skill sets. Part of the reason, apart from the rural program, we're also introducing an agri-food immigration pilot program. This will address two sectors of that economy. Non-seasonal agriculture, like greenhouses and mushroom farming and so on, and the meat cutting industry. The meat cutting industry is already short 12% of workers.
Oh, wow.
How will we export more meat if we don't have, we're already minus 12. So this is a way to use immigration to meet our needs and further grow our economies. Because I can tell you, I've traveled from coast to coast to coast. When businesses cannot find the people to work, they go somewhere else. And those communities suffer. So agri-food pilot, the Atlantic immigration pilot, the rural immigration pilot program, all those programs are meant to, and we've increased the spaces in the provincial nominee program by 33%. Because provinces like British Columbia have asked us to do that. So all these programs are helping with that. On the high-tech sector, on the high-skilled sector, global skills strategy, changes to the express entry system, which continues to grow. Even the PMP is used for some allocations there. So we're working on a lot of things that help the Canadian economy. And I think finally, because of the fast processing and the new programs to meet the needs of businesses, I think finally the Trudeau government has delivered an immigration system that is working for Canada's economic growth in the best optimal sense. And we will do more of that because we know that there's always more to be done. And by the way, it's also important to invest in newcomers so that they can succeed faster and get a job and contribute and open a business, because it helps us. Yes. That is why the government of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has increased funding for settlement and integration by 30%. 30.
ਸੋ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਰੈਫਿਊਜੀਜ਼ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੋ ਗਏ, ਲੋਕੀ ਹੁਣ ਇਹਦੀ ਕੰਪਲੇਂਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ। ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਮਿਸ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਰਲਡ ਵਾਈਡ ਐਂਟੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੈਂਟੀਮੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਰੋਲ ਪਲੇ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਟੈਟ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਆ, ਮਤਲਬ ਇਟਸ ਵੈਰੀ ਸਰਪ੍ਰਾਈਜ਼ਿੰਗ ਟੂ ਮੀ ਟੂ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਦੈਟ 60% is economic immigration happening, 20% is family, and a very small percentage ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਫਿਊਜੀ ਉਹ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜੇ ਪਰਸੈਂਟੇਜ ਵਾਈਜ਼ ਦੇਖੋ, ਇਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰੂਰਲ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਪਾਇਲਟ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ, ਗਲੋਬਲ ਸਕਿੱਲਸ ਸਟ੍ਰੈਟਜੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਨਵਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਐਗਰੀ ਫੂਡ ਪਾਇਲਟ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਨ ਸੀਜ਼ਨਲ ਤੇ ਮੀਟ ਕਟਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਧਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਤੇ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਨੋਮਨੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹੈ PNP we call it in British Columbia, and they are increasing by 30%. So Minister, for the sake of time, couple of things. I think the sentiments, as you said, internationally and the populist governments, they're creating those kind of environment across the border. Our friends in south of the border, a father and daughter died. How sad.
That's tragic. That's very tragic.
It's very tragic.
Human life is precious, and we have to do more to protect people in those vulnerable situations. I'll end, because we're short of time, I'll end by saying that immigration has been, is, and will continue to be a key factor in our economic growth and in our social development. Can you imagine Canada without immigration? Look at all the communities that have come here in different waves to contribute so much to our country. This is something that we are showing the world. Canada has become an example of a smart immigration policy, a smart immigration policy. Welcoming immigrants and investing in them is not just the kind thing to do or the nice thing to do, which it is, but it's also the smart thing to do. We're an aging population.
Yes.
But we have a growing economy. The only way we're going to be able to fulfill our labor market requirements, our growing economy, meet some of the demographic pressures we're facing, is to continue to be ambitious in immigration and to be smart. Spreading fear, dividing people, which is what the Conservatives are doing, it's really shameful, and it is not in our national interest. The polls, we have to listen to Canadians, we have to listen to their concerns, but we also, I think, have to share the successes.
Yes.
We cannot take the support for granted anymore. So I think the more we can share, so we have a national campaign called Why Immigration Matters, and we try to share with Canadians not just the success of immigration nationally, but even in local communities. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and I really appreciate the chance, and I hope that we can do this again over a longer period of time.
Thank you, Minister. Minister ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕ ਗਰੋਥ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਇਸ ਇਕੱਲੀ ਸਮਾਰਟ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੀ ਹੈਗੀ, but that's economic growth brings, because baby boomer ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਬੁੜੇ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਆ. There is not enough people to fill those jobs. So ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹ to grow the economy, and they listen to the Canadians, and they have a vision to make this system better, because ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਣੇ cross the border ਜਾਂ ਦੂਜੀਆਂ ਕੰਟਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ sentiment ਹੈ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ it's a very sad thing. He said about that across the border in south side, a father and daughter, is a very tragic, ਬੜੀ sad ਗੱਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ happen. ਪਰ Canada is way better than those kind of tragedies. We don't want that happening on our borders, because we thrived in Canada to be the compassionate, the best country in the world.
Yeah, that's not going to happen in our border, and we work with other countries to make sure that migrants, whatever their status is, are treated humanely and with dignity and through the due process.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much.
I know that there was not enough time. There was a lot of questions, but at least we were able to cover some bases.
Absolutely.
And next time I will welcome you before the elections, I hope.
Yeah.
And then we have a sit down. I think 1 hour will be nice.
Thank you very much. I just want to end by saying that one of the things we heard from the community is unauthorized immigration consultants taking advantage of people.
Yes.
We have finally taken comprehensive action, and I think our strategy will solve this problem once and for all. It's too huge for me to explain now, but we're making the necessary investments for more enforcement, more investigations, but also giving the tools to the good immigration consultants to go after these people. We have doubled the criminal fines from 100,000 to 200,000, so it will be very expensive to rip off people. And we have finally put together a compensation fund to compensate people who have lost money.
So Minister ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ unauthorized ਜਿਹੜੇ consultant ਹੈ, he wanted to add that comment, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬੰਦ ਕਰਨਗੇ, ਲੂਪ ਹੋਲ ਬੰਦ ਕਰਨਗੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਫਾਈਨ ਇਨਕਰੀਜ਼ ਕਰਨਗੇ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਫਰ ਕੀਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਕੰਪਨਸੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਇੰਤਜ਼ਾਮ ਕਰਨੇ। ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਇੰਨਾ ਹੀ ਸਮਾਂ ਆ। ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ once again and I appreciate your time.
I appreciate that.